Hi everyone, my name is Steve Sarsfield. I'm with a company called Cambridge Semantics, and we're here to introduce AnsoGraphDB, which is a highly scalable graph database that can leverage Esri geospatial and OGC standards. Now, geospatial is really a relationship. It's a relationship between people, things, events, and their location. And graph databases are really good at relationships. So in this presentation, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about why you might want to use a graph database like AnsoGraphDB for geospatial analytics. Now, for those of you who may not know, the secret to a graph database is really in the data model. So rather than creating new tables and developing schemas, doing joins between those tables, graph databases use a very simple data model. It's subject, predicate, object. Essentially, it's the same as a sentence. In this case, John lives in Boston, and you can take and put properties around those subjects and predicate and objects. So we may know that on February 20th, 2020, John lived in Boston as one of the properties that we have there. So it's very simple. You can say any sentence, anytime. That's great for representing all types of data, including the relationships in geospatial. You can represent things like, is the location inside or outside a town or a county? Do two areas intersect? And that's very easy to store in a graph database. So why would you want to use a graph database for geospatial? Well, really it comes down to two major things. One is that the data model makes it very easy for you to ingest and use data. The data model is schemaless, so you can use and ingest any data at any time. It's very simple to ingest data and handle just about any data type, including both structured and unstructured data. And you really don't have to deal with joins and setting up the right schema. So data integration is really simple. But perhaps an even bigger benefit that you have is the ability to analyze. So, you can do graph algorithms very easily and very cost effectively with a graph database. You can do things like PageRank and shortest path. And those are really powerful things that are pretty difficult to do in a standard relational database. Now, a really good example of how you use algorithms in real life in practice is the London subway example. So in our database, we have all of the stations and all the points on the London subway, and we want to calculate the shortest path between point A and point B on the London subway. So you would use a shortest path algorithm for that. Pretty easy to do in a graph database, not so much in a relational database. Also, I might want to look at see which subway stations are the most popular or which are the least popular subway stations in the system. And so I could use a PageRank algorithm in order to determine that. Again, this is something that's very easy in a graph database, maybe a little more difficult in a relational database system. Well, you'll note that there are a lot of graph databases on the market. We think AnsoGraphDB has all the right features to build your own custom knowledge graphs in your own applications. One of the greatest features of AnsoGraphDB is that it is scalability without limits. So we are a massively parallel analytical database where you can continue to add nodes over time in order to scale up and perform deeper analytics. You might want to check out our benchmarks on our website where we have scaled up to trillions of triples and hundreds of nodes in order to achieve this massively parallel analytics. But we also have some great analytical features in itself. So, of course, we support Sparkle, Sparkle Star, and Cypher, which is under development now with our development team. So your ability to write in a standard language and do analytics and using a standard graph language is built into the product. We also have inferencing capability. Remember, this is a RDF star based database, so you can do inferencing using RDFS. Of course, we have geospatial. And then built into the product itself, we have graph algorithms. There's quite a few beyond PageRank and shortest path, but we have quite a few that are built into the product itself. But if you want to create your own custom algorithms or you want to use some data science algorithms, that's also part of the product, and you can use those as well in developing your knowledge graphs. So in this presentation, I've given you just a little bit of what we have to offer when it comes to helping you develop your own knowledge graphs using a graph database, using AnsoGraphDB. And so if you want more information, feel free to join us. During this Esri conference in our Zoom meeting area, you can come and download our data sheets, look at our infographics and other materials that we have there. We also have a great benchmark up there. And you can learn more about AnsoGraph at ansograph.com. Best of all, maybe you want to try AnsoGraph, so feel free to come to ansograph.com and download our free edition. It includes the geospatial preview, and feel free to use that and try that out. Thanks very much for listening, and I hope to talk to you soon.